Shaggy, now it seems like ages since you and Sean Paul and Shabba Ranks put dancehall on the map in the US. Now, no one from Jamaica, even someone who is as promising as Coffee, is selling huge numbers, and of course, Jamaicans don't buy songs really. What is the problem? Is it the marketing or is it the music?
I don't know if I can pinpoint a problem like that. I think um, it probably be a bit of both, or a number of things. We consume most of our music out of Jamaica on YouTube. People confuse streams with views. It's two different things. YouTube, though it's probably the lowest paying service out of all of them, but because it is also a bigger footprint, it reaches more countries and it has more numbers, but they actually pay less. But the industry standards doesn't really count the views the same as they count streams. They count the streams. That's why Spotify is so relevant. And then of course Spotify will give you more information, more algorithms and the algorithms data, so to speak, on each one of these songs, how much a person is streaming, how much they stream, their monthly listers, stuff like that. So that is another things, and that we might need to fix to say how these huge numbers of Jamaicans that are streaming, that are consuming music, if they need to be some sort of package workout, whether between these streaming services, so that we could get these numbers to let it affect us, our numbers. And once it affects our numbers, then it gives us a seat at the table, because at this point we're under 6% of the global market share, so it doesn't really give us much of a leverage to go in.
Is it that the algorithms are stacked against Jamaicans, stacked outside of the US?
I mean, it is if you do a dancehall, if dancehall is 6% or under 6% of the market share, then right, what playlist it is going to get on? You're only going to get on the dancehall and reggae playlist, which those numbers are not as huge as some of the more popular playlists. And to get on the popular playlist, you want the algorithm to kick you. If you get a song that blew up in dancehall, right, and does well on those ones, then they'll make it to the other playlists. And that's what we have to think about. So part of it is the type of song. And we have songs that are coming out of Jamaica that they're only doing well in Jamaica. And they might do well on YouTube, but like I said, it doesn't really reflect. So the type of music has something to do with it. We have to make music, and then a lot of the music itself is more of a hybrid style of a kind of a R&B kind of hybrid style. I think it's not really reggae. So that when you look at the numbers, they're more of the reggae sounding songs actually stream better than the hybrid style of song, and a lot of it is the lyrical content. Some of the lyrical content are so deep rooted dancehall, so it doesn't really resonate with that with a crossover at the end of the day. So,
At the end of the day.
so there's a number of factors, why it is. So we have to make music that because we don't get on these playlists and we don't have the same leverage, we have to make, I call it disruptive music. You have to make music that is just so your ear, it's very affecting to the ear. So you have like, who that, what that, the sound of it, But there are a lot of people that are trying and doing well. Coffee, like I said, doing a good job. A lot of people doing a good job, trying to get out there. A lot of people working hard.
At the same time, the harder they fall is released, and old schoolers like Barrington Levy getting a bump in streams from his music being featured on the soundtrack. Inner Circle song Bad Boys keep soaring in the series Cops and the movies of the same name. So there's clearly an appetite then for classic Jamaican music that the new school can't seem to match. Would you agree?
But I think that they've changed the formula. Them say if something not broken, don't fix it. And I think there's a formula that has always worked. I mean, it's certainly reflected in the streaming numbers that 90s dancehall and reggae actually streams better than current dancehall and reggae. So there's no argument there. But I'm not one of those guys who's gonna sit down and just say, "Well, we must make the same old thing and move on." Whoa, we have to, we have to tap into the new and bring these kids up, But there's it, like I say, it's not a book up, It's a formula. Songwriting is a formula. Making music is a formula. It's not, it's not. You come in and you catch a vibe. I don't survive 30 years of doing this and still being relevant and hitting shots by coming and catching a vibe. I come in, I deal with it like work. I come in, and if my shooter time start from 11 o'clock in the morning to 6 in the evening, between 11 and 6 I get the song. And that's how I deal with it. So at the end of the day, we have to try and figure out what the market needs and feed the market with that style of music. You know what I mean? And put our own style. So you have to create hybrids.
How do you figure out what the market needs?
You figure out what the market by having your finger on the pulse. You got to be on the, you have a finger on the pulse. You have to know what is going on there. You got to be in touch with your DJs. You got to be in touch with the streets. You got to be in touch with the people in radio. You got to be in touch with the curators, to kind of find out what is there. You just got to be on it. And I'm not saying that everything that is happening going to basically fit your model or your mold. You have to basically figure out a way, to create a hybrid that really embodies some of this and still stay true to your culture and your genre of music. And that's why you create the hybrid. If you look at, let's take it back to as far as the great Bob Marley within himself, when everybody used to say, in the early days, people called Bob Marley music sellout music because of the fact that Bob Marley was creating a hybrid style of music, but he was ahead of the time. We have documentary on YouTube that basically showed Chris Blackwell, and Bob bringing in session musicians to overdub the original Wailers music. Isn't it ironic that those very recordings are now the blueprint of what reggae music is? So he was ahead of the game. And they created these hybrids because they wanted to be competitive. They wanted to get on these platforms that wouldn't gravitate to them, those type of music in its natural form. So they created a hybrid, and they became popular. So you have to kind of figure, it's the same thing we did when we were doing Old Caroline or putting Marvin Gaye sample on the Bombastic. It's to create a leverage so we can get on these platforms, and that's kind of what we have to figure out. And we're in the age of hybrid. Everything is a hybrid at this point.
So how you're reading the market now is just create hybrids?
Yeah, create hybrids, create and hybrids that really connect. I mean, you listen to a song like Go Down There with Spice. That's a hybrid. Those sounds are yours. It was produced by Costi. Costi Official is one of the guys that produce for me. That he's a European guy. He's from Romania. But those sounds, when I heard those sounds that he was doing, I say, oh, this can work. You know what I mean? And I put the song together and created a hybrid sound. You know what I mean? But it's still connected with the core. And even with it coming out, Spice at some point was kind of, worried a bit because she has such a hardcore family. And I'm like, yo, those hardcore fans are going to rock with this because you didn't go that far, but you still created something enough that other people, other genres, the songs started to do well in France and Russia and all of these places. You know what I mean? Because it has that hybrid sound. So we have to figure out what that sound is. And the language and the melodies and all of these things that work. You know what I mean? Songs like what Barrington Levy is doing on all of these songs, those songs are great sync records. And we have to create sync records. Records that do well in movies and commercials and stuff like that. You can't just do it if you look a niche market. You're either going to keep it local or global.
Let's look at the new Spice album. Would you say that it has been successful thus far?
I mean, it is a success in the sense that we had a massive single for us. The album came out. What we streamed with that album is based on what our deal is. Listen, this is Spice's last album on VP. I didn't expect VP to put any more investment into her as much because they don't have her for another album. They don't have an option. You know what I mean? This was the only one. It's our only album and this is the last one. So it's only so much they're going to put into it. And if you're going to go to the moon, you can't use a firecracker, you're going to need a rocket. You know what I mean? So there will be certain amount of money has to be spent and invested into the act to get the act to that next level. Now Spice has all um, the qualifications to do all of that. But if you're a VP, you're not gonna really put that kind of money into somebody that you don't have another album with. And I've always known that. The whole goal of this album was when Spice came to me is that she wanted to get off VP. So we created a deal where there was a win-win situation for VP and Spice at the same time, and yet still give her her freedom. You know, as of the 31st of December, she'll be free from VP.
No, there are some persons in the industry who believe that because of her age
Mm-hmm.
and the stage of the music and the game right now, that after this album, we can't expect that she can do something bigger. What are your thoughts?
I don't. I definitely our age is going against her, but you can easily say the same for me. Have I stopped?
Was it different from men and women?
No, I don't think it's different from men and women at all. I think it really just boils down to you creating, um, you know, keeping yourself relevant and creating good music and creating music that really is relatable to people. Everything is about things that are relatable to people. You know what I mean? Whether young, old, and from she can keep herself in that. You know, one thing I can tell you, despite her age, she's still one of the top trending person on a daily basis. You know, people talk about Spice every single day, and she keeps herself relevant. So, in her case, maybe with another artist, I might think so, but in her case, I do not think so because I think she knows how to keep herself relevant. She knows how to be the talk of the town. She knows how to keep herself in the mix.
So we have Up Top Boss,
Mm-hmm.
Teejay. He has just done a song with Inner Circle,
Mm-hmm.
was released, which is
Great
real
song.
pre.
Great song.
How important is that for dancehall?
It's good because you know when you talk about Inner Circle and Bad Boys and you know it's a brand. It's a brand, you know, and it's great that Inner Circle can allow TJ to actually use that brand and use their platform. You know, they make a lot of sync music, you know, and it's a great listen. It's a great learning curve for somebody like TJ at the same time, and the song is great. It puts a fresh sound to Inner Circle. He's a fresh face. He's very melodic. You know what I mean? And I personally know him and deal with him and know that he's a hardworking guy. You know what I mean? Always about he's a sponge. That's one of the main things I like about him. He always want to learn.
Segue to the fact that we've seen him in your studios. What's happening there?
I mean, he's been working with some of my producers. Them, you know, I haven't personally worked. I think I did one thing with him where he featured on one of my songs. But um, I'm gone into working with him on in depth. You know, which I plan to do in the future anyway. But you know, he's been working with Sheehan and Costi and a couple of my other guys. You know, and you know they're coming up with some amazing stuff. The other night, I think you were there. The other night he came in just to do one song and ended up doing three in all. So, you know, there's a chemistry there. So I'm happy that they're connecting.
Tell me about new projects you have in the pipeline.
New projects that I'm working at I'm dealing with the Christmas album at this point, Christmas in the Islands, which is a deluxe. No, it's a deluxe edition of the original album that came out with a deal with BMG. So every year they promote this album. We've added 4 songs. One of this, my brother Sting really graced us with a track with him and I. And of course, it's Christmas in the Islands, so it's all the Caribbean islands. So we went for people like Bungie Garlin come on board. And, there's a young lady by the name of Anna Bear, a new artist. And I always try to feature new artists. So there's 4 new tracks on there. And, it's perfect holiday music, dancehall, reggae, using some of our, biggest stars, both timeless ones and new artists all at the same time.
This project dropped in the middle of COVID in 2020, December.
Mm-hmm.
How well did it do?
It did very well, actually. It did very, very well. It did very well, and we've just dropped it in September, and I've done very well with it so far. Russia is one of these places that I've been playing it a lot for some reason. When I look at the the analytics, it was I was pretty impressed with it. So yeah, great.
Seems that a lot of artists, whether hip hop and some of our Jamaican artists even, have turned Florida into a hub. Is that what it is in terms of getting the music out? You have to be working in Florida?
Well, Florida has become probably the hotspot, especially during COVID. One because of where it is geographically, and two is because of there are a lot of celebrities that are coming here and a lot of business coming here because there is no taxes. There's no state tax. So if you're a business person or you're if you make anything over $500,000, you're gonna want to be in Florida because they save taxes. And for me, it makes better sense because my sons are here and it's really close to Jamaica. My daughters are in Jamaica, and so it's easy. It's an easier hub for me than everywhere else. So I could only speak on for myself. I don't know what other reasons other people would want to be here for. But a lot of my band members, a lot of musicians and DJs and people that I work with in my field are here in Florida. So it just made better sense. And the weather is better.
You have a son that's a rapper. Tell us a little bit about him.
Rob is, he's always been doing music. He was part of that whole crew that had people like Exestacion and Ski Mask and people like that. He was actually one of the first to break out from that whole members only crew, out of Broward. And, out of that bond, such things as the Rolling Loud Festival really came from that whole movement with all of them. And with these guys. So it's been a nice little road for him. He had stopped putting out music for a while and now started putting back music out again, and he's been doing a lot of these festivals and doing his thing. So he's just doing his things. He does his music.
We notice he does not push himself as Shaggy's son.
No, he doesn't push himself, and I wouldn't want him to push himself as Shaggy's son and push himself as himself. He's a person that wants to do things on his own and rock by own, and he does that. I don't give him any help at all. He does what he wants. He's he's that kind of independent person. He wants it on his own. It doesn't come for me for anything. The most he might do is use a studio, which he does, or we might share things like lawyers and things like that. But as far as creatively or doing anything else, I'm going to tell him who are the best lawyers and who are the best agents or who are the best things. So that's that part. He must go in there and do that. But everything he does on his own, he does it, and he has his own crew and his own little team that he does his thing with.
Thank you.
Good to go.